Welcome to Keep It Local. My name is Ryan Welton, your host for Keep It Local from the Local Media Association. And I'm here today with our very first two-time guest of Keep It Local. It is Todd Handy. How are you doing, Todd?
Ryan, I'm great. It's good to be back. Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Well, I'm excited for our topic today. It's the latest LMII report. But first, when we first talked about setting up this podcast, you told me you were in London, and I'm always excited about that. Was that for business or pleasure?
A little bit of both, but I was there specifically working with a client. London's one of my favorite cities in the world, and so it was great for me to be there. But I'm also really keen to keep an eye on what's going on in the UK with pressure on publishers, with regulation and so forth. So it was kind of some spotting for me as well, just kind of looking around the corner, seeing what may be coming down the road for us.
That makes a lot of sense. I got to go to London for my first time ever this summer, and the best piece of advice I would give anybody who's never been is cross the street quickly. You have about 5 seconds, and the cars don't stop.
Very true. Very true.
Well, the latest LMI report, and I want to make sure I get this right, the LMII report is called Winning with Zero and First-Party Data. And Todd, in my time at Griffin Media, I was director of digital content. We used to talk about first-party data all the time. I'm pretty familiar with what that is, but I don't know that I'm as familiar with zero-party data, and I understand from reading your report, second and third-party data.
Yeah, so let's dive in, and I guess we got to start with tomato, data. I say data, so I'm going to say it wrong compared to how you say it, but as a journalist, you probably say it the right way. First party data for me and for what we see in the industry is really what you observe based on the behavior that you have from your users across your own and operated properties. Zero party data is what the audience explicitly tells you intentionally and with consent. So some examples. Zero party examples would be newsletter preferences or zip code interests, how often they want to receive updates, what topics they care about. And it can actually even be purchase intent, like I'm looking for a car or I'm planning a home project. First party examples are what they read, what they click, how frequently they come back, email opens and clicks, or what they subscribe to, the things that you are seeing on your sites. Second party data really is someone else's first party data that they've shared with you in a partnership. So if you're working with a local auto dealer, for example, they've got their first party list, but they share it with you as a media company so you can access that list and reach out to their users and so forth. And then third party data is aggregated data that you buy from brokers. That's really been the backbone of ad targeting for years, but it's becoming much less reliable and it's less accessible because of privacy changes.
And that's probably some of the future rules and regulations you're hearing about in London that could probably be part of our future.
Absolutely. Yeah. The UK is certainly on the cutting edge when it comes to things like that. And you're seeing more and more of that. We've obviously seen what GDPR did. And so CCPA, CCPR, and so forth, and many other states now in the US that are doing the same thing. It's all about, we want to know about our users, but we want it to be informed and we want it to be driven by consent.
These LMII reports that Local Media Association puts out there, and Todd, you've done two of the most recent ones. They're available to LMII subscribers. You can find these at localmedia.org, but if you're not an LMII subscriber, you can purchase them right there from localmedia.org. So I want to make sure that people can find that, and I'll put that in the YouTube description and the show notes. So Todd, first-party data has been a priority in 2025, 24, 23, 22, 21. We've heard about this for years. Why is it even more of a big deal for publishers in 2026? And is there something driving this urgency?
Yeah, for sure. So the urgency is higher now because the old model of growth and targeting, it's just become less dependable. We've heard for years about the cookie apocalypse, about deprecation of third-party cookies and so forth. As I stated when we were talking about the different types of data, the ad targeting backbone has been this third-party data, but that's become much less available because of privacy regulation and so forth. And so if that data goes away, you are left to rely upon the first-party data that you have, but even that first-party data doesn't really tell you the things that you most want to know to be able to have a more dependable and a less brittle backbone for your revenue and so forth. So publishers are dealing with a lot less referrals from platforms. They're dealing with tighter privacy rules and a much tougher ad market. At the same time, advertisers, they still want performance. And the audiences, they want relevance in the products that they see on your sites and so forth. So the question really becomes, do you know who your audience is? Do you know what they care about? Do you know how to reach them directly? Those really are the questions that we're looking at now. And so if you do, you can grow engagement and you can monetize better. But if you don't, you're selling anonymous impressions because you don't know anything about them. And anonymity really is priced lower and lower every year. There's just not that much value in it.
That leads me to the next question. You probably touched a lot on that. But when I think about first party data, I think about spreadsheets and information that I see. How does zero and first party data play into a broader revenue strategy for newsrooms? How should they be thinking about it?
Yeah, so for me, it's strategic because it changes the business model from being content first to being audience first. It really gives you leverage in three places: in audience growth, in product relevance, and in revenue packaging. So instead of guessing what people want, you can know what it is that they want. Instead of broad generic inventory, you can build segments and products that advertisers actually value because they're based on data that the users have given you. That's consented data, that's informed data. And really, it begins to compound. The longer you build this consented, high quality data, the more valuable your audience becomes and the less fragile your revenue is. So the way that I would say it is that the newsrooms and the revenue teams and so forth, they need to think of this not as a tech project. This is a capability that they need to build. That's the difference.
And not only does this make the audience more valuable to the newsroom, it makes the newsroom more valuable to the audience because you're able to segment, you're able to see what they want and really parse that in the content you create.
Very true.
How does this play into audience trust? We're doing a project at Local Media Association for a future newsletter where I'm asking folks sort of their projections for the next year. And I know we're into February, but still, we've got a lot of months to go. And one of the topics that comes up is audience trust. Trust is everything in 2026. How does a zero and first party data strategy play into audience trust?
Yeah, so you said it. Trust is everything. It is the whole ballgame. Zero party data only works when there's an obvious value exchange there, right? So to me, there are three rules. You need to be clear, you need to be minimal, and you need to give control. So clear, you need to tell people why you're asking for what you're asking for. Minimal, you need to ask for the smallest thing that improves their experiences. Don't ask for everything. And control, you need to make it easy for them to adjust preferences and to opt out. So a good example is something like choose the topics you care about so we can only send what's relevant, or share your zip code with us so we can personalize local alerts. A bad example would be collecting a whole bunch of fields of data with no explanation and not really doing anything with them once you've collected them, right? So for me, if you can't explain why you're collecting it in one sentence, don't collect it.
All right, be succinct. So people might be listening to this and think, okay, but really the urgency for us is revenue so that we can be sustainable. What are some practical revenue opportunities? Maybe you don't want to give them all away, but you have your first party data. What can I do with that to make money?
See, and that's where it's great because I don't come from the content side. I'm on the opposite side of the coin. I monetize that content that those newsrooms and content teams put together that is so wonderful. And so that's why it's something that I'm very passionate about, because all of this can really help your revenue by increasing the yield and improving the advertiser outcomes. The better your data is, the better your campaigns will perform, not only for you and for the advertisers, but frankly, even for the audience. So when you can segment your audience based on consented signals, you can sell sponsorships and packages that perform better than run of site or run of section or whatever the case may be, right? So here's a couple of examples. segmented newsletter sponsorships like local sports, local politics, family activities. If you've asked your users to tell you that you like those things, then you're going to get those that are full of folks who've said, I like these, versus just throwing them across the board to get anybody who would opt in, right? Or local intent programs where audiences opt in to hearing from advertisers in categories like home services or autos or health. If it's consented, it becomes much more powerful. And let's be honest, I'm not on that content side and I'm not an expert at it, but it also supports reader revenue because relevance improves retention and loyalty, right? So the best way I can say it is known audiences monetize better.
Hmm. Yeah, consented audiences, known audiences, and that rich data that supports both a client and the consumer. So this is what you do. Your company is Disruptive Impact. Do I have that right?
That's
And
correct.
you consult with clients to help them with this, but there's also this LMII report. It's a 17-page report. I've read it through a couple of times. We want people to be looking at this report. What can they expect to get out of this report?
Well, now we've just scared everybody, telling them it's a 17-page report, and I'm just realizing that's a long thing. I probably should have thought that a little bit better.
It was an easy read, very easy read.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. For me, it's really a practical playbook. It's designed for real-world local media constraints. All right. So here's what they should expect: clear definitions and why they matter. Specific ways to collect zero and first-party data without annoying your audiences. Where to start if you haven't started and you are behind, a phased approach so you can execute this, especially if you have small teams, and use cases that are tied to audience growth and engagement and so forth. My goal really was so that a media company could read it and immediately begin to identify the first 2 or 3 moves that they could make in the next 30 days.
Mhm.
It's really built to be implemented, not admired, right? So I hope folks download it and love it and think greatly of it, but I hope that it becomes something that they print out and it becomes dog-eared as they're carrying it around and doing what they're doing to try to implement things. I want it to be a very practical framework that helps them get to what they need to do to get going.
You can't get to steps 5, 6, 7, and 8 unless you've got 1, 2, and 3 mastered. So I like how you said that right there. Is there anything in this report that could apply to, there are a lot of independent creators around. I saw that Project C just now they have their independent journalism atlas, and there are a lot of sites up, even here in the state of Oklahoma. I saw one yesterday in Stillwater. I was like, this is a really good site. This is applicable to them too, right?
This is applicable to anybody who wants to understand their audience better, right? This, let's be honest, this would be the same for our advertisers who have their own websites, who have their customers coming to their websites as well, right? It's not just a media company thing. If you know your audience better, you can serve them better. You can give them better products. You can give them better service and retention. But yes, if it's media companies, that makes perfect sense. But if it's content creators as well, anyone who knows their audience, and when the audience shares this with them, there's that value exchange, right? The audience doesn't share the data unless they're going to get something back that has a value exchange for them. So the more that value exchange is there and the higher it is, the better for those users. So it's good for anybody like that.
Rule number 1 in content: know thy audiences. Todd Handy from Disruptive Impact, longtime supporter. You've been on the board of LMA. We see you everywhere, Todd Handy. And this report, LMII report, is on the local media website, available for purchase unless you're an LMII subscriber. We highly encourage that you go read it. I'll have it in the notes and YouTube description. Todd, anything that I failed to ask, anything that you want to add about zero?
You didn't fail to ask anything, Ryan. It's been my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. But what it really comes down to this: if you're a local publisher and you don't have a plan for your audience, you just need to start now, right? Don't put it off. This gives you a practical way that you can get there, but you're behind the 8 ball right now. Don't wait any longer.
You talked about steps 1, 2, and 3. Getting started to be step 0. Get started and then read this report, steps 1, 2, and 3. Todd Handy, I appreciate your time. For the Keep It Local podcast, my name is Ryan Welton. We will talk to you later. Local Media Association offers a variety of advertising opportunities for you to market your product and/or service to the vast local media industry. Our membership is comprised of more than 3,000 local media companies of every size and medium. We have a variety of ways to get you in front of key decision makers within the industry. For example, the Keep It Local podcast sponsorship package. Keep It Local is a trusted local media podcast reaching engaged listeners who care about community, business, and local impact. Hosted by me, my name is Ryan Welton for Local Media Association. Keep It Local is a podcast about smart ideas, sustainable innovation, and the people doing the real work to keep local journalism thriving. Whether you're a publisher, an editor, ad director, or a community advocate, this show is for you. And on the local media website, we have a number of different packages that will fit your needs. I'll put a link in the description below, and I thank you for listening and watching Keep It Local.